So what we're going to do today is run through this power session, and then we'll take questions at the end. I've run through this several times, and the first two times that I did it came up at over 30 minutes. So I won't have time to take questions mid-presentation. I want to get this out in 19 and a half minutes and then answer as many questions as I possibly can. So hold your questions off until the end. This is a presentation that I can guarantee you will need to revisit. So I'll send you out a link where this will be hosted so you can go and have another look at the key points afterwards, because we're going to cover a lot of ground and you'll need to figure out how to make your emails, your outreach fit into this strategy. Hello to a couple of people out there. It's great to see so many people online that have supported me over the time. Hello Iris, hello Garen, hello Con. Thank you very much for taking the time to come on. I like this concept of the 20-minute power session because it makes me be very, very sharp with information. And I think we can share as much information as what others do inside an hour, but just without wasting your time. I go to a lot of webinars and it feels like there's 15 minutes worth of really good content inside that 60-minute time frame. So I'm trying to flip that on its head. Okay, so I've got 8:32, so I'm going to actually start the presentation now and kick along. So today we've got the 20-minute power session on emails that convert, how to successfully engage prospects via email. And of course, this is a topic that we talk a lot about in both the Boss podcast and also in the book that's the Tactical Pipeline Growth, which has been recently released. So why do we need to be talking about this right now? So there's a bunch of reasons. First of all, of course, everyone's sending emails because face-to-face meetings are out. Telephone, desk phones, for example, some are being diverted, but not many are. So a lot of us are then diverting our communications into email. And that means that there's a lot of volume. There's some really great data from HubSpot. I've shared that before, but you know, they're talking about volumes upwards of 100% on top of normal. So there's a lot of stuff in people's inboxes and they've only got the same amount of time. So a lot of emails aren't getting through. Working with a client yesterday, they had open rates of 25%, and they thought that was pretty good. Another client I was working with very recently had open rates of 14%. So to put that into context, if you're sending out sales emails and you're sending 5 emails, one of them is being opened. That's not response rates, that's open rates. So, you know, it's a vehicle that everyone's using, but it's a vehicle that a lot of people are using badly. And that's what we want to try and help you with today, and is get some templates and some strategies in place that will help you cut through and get those response rates up beyond single digits. The other thing I'm seeing is salespeople are really keen to try and push on and drive some new business as we get onto the tail end of COVID here in Australia. And as a result, salespeople are desperate, and you can see that in their emails. They're coming across really poorly, and it's making it harder for those of us who've got a great message to stand out in amongst all of that noise. So one of the mistakes that I'm seeing that I want you to really be conscious of, that there's two that really stand out, okay? And one is, you know, the email that comes, and sometimes it's a LinkedIn message, right? The email that comes, it's really long, and it's got all these reasons why, you know, I should take a meeting with you. And it talks about, you know, go to my website, here's a link to my calendar link, here's some other companies that we work with, here's a case study, you know, and then basically create this email that looks like everybody else's email. It just looks like a unsolicited, and I'm going to use spam, you know, a spammy email. So as soon as we open it, we straight away go, this is not designed for me, I'm going to delete it. Okay, so going for that knockout blow, that one email that's going to get a guaranteed meeting, is actually doing you a really strong disservice. So I think you need to flip the way that you think about that. And of course, this means that emails end up being too long and they ask for too much. The other thing that I think is really important is that we need to really, you know, dissect our ICPs so that we can talk directly to those people. It's really easy for us to be talking about personalization and people's priorities when the markets are really slim. When you start to make that ICP a bit wider, you have to change the language inside your email to make sure that it hits the target. And as a result, it becomes too wide and it becomes relevant for nobody. So that's a really key strategy. They're really important for those marketers online here. And the second piece, or the third piece, is, once you've sent that email, you need to have a backup play. It needs to be, what are you going to send? How are you going to reach out the second time? Is it going to be another email? Are you going to go to social? Are you going to go to telephone? Because we know that a very small amount of emails are actually being opened and a smaller amount are going to be responded to. So shooting a one-shot knockout email is going to make it significantly harder for you. The 5 Ps, and I've cheated a little bit, of email prospecting. Obviously, personalization, you knew that was going to be in there. Priorities, we need to be targeting what we know to be that ICP's priorities right now, not the priorities of 2019, today's priorities. It needs to be personally relevant. And this is probably something that you're not used to. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time explaining that. Ethical persuasion and persistence. Persistence meaning we need to have a strategy to send out more than one. So let me expand on these a little bit piece by piece, okay? What I've realized is there's a whole bunch of stuff that people don't understand about personalization, but if I don't receive an email and it doesn't sound like it's for me, it's not relevant, or I consider it to be spam. And that perception of whether it's spam is on the receiver, not on the sender. So I've got to be able to perceive that this email is for me. Now, if that's sent via automation, but I still perceive it's for me, I think that's okay. So personalization does not mean a handwritten email designed just only for Mark, but it needs to be personalized. And I think we're going to do another session on personalization, to be honest, because I get so many people confused about it. So I'll give you my hierarchy of personalization. So when we start out with an email, anything that has been self-published, so YouTube, LinkedIn, but it has to be on topic, right? So you can't say, hey, Mark, I saw you commented on this cat video, so that means that you should buy my software. And I see this all the time. So, if I publish something around sales enablement or sales effectiveness or sales capability, and you've got a software program that supports the improvement of that, then you can reach out and say, hey, Mark, I saw you talked about this. We're in this space also. And so you can align nicely there. Not everyone will self-publish though, so it makes it really difficult for probably 90% of us. Okay, 10% of us will be publishing content on topic. Second thing you can do is any interaction that I've made that will help you reach out. So, if I've liked something on social, if I've commented, anything like that, where I've made a public affirmation, if you like, that may not be content that I've created. Self-attribution. So for example, if I say in my headline that I'm a sales guru and you sell sales enablement tools, then that gives you the opportunity to say, hey, Mark, I see that you're a self-confessed sales guru. Sorry about the plug there, people. Here's some sales enablement tools that'll help you be even more of a guru. Okay, I don't think I'm a guru, by the way. Company published would be the next thing. So if you're working for a large organization, or if your prospect's working for a large organization and you can find something that maybe the CEO has written, or there's a blog, or there's an announcement on the ASX that talks about them trying to increase revenue, or they're trying to get their employees back into the workplace, for example, then you can leverage that and say, hey, I noticed that your CEO was talking about this as a priority. That gave me the opportunity to reach out. The last two are pretty weak, and this is where most people fall into. So what they do is they typically say, hey, Mark, most marketers in the tech space are focused on this right now. And it's, and then you receive that email and you think, and whatever comes next has to be really good, otherwise you're getting deleted. And the lowest level of hierarchy, of course, is when you just say, hey, marketing directors or are worried about this. So they're the hierarchy of personalization, and the higher up you are, the more likely you're going to get a great start to the conversation. But I do understand that this is not always available. So what do you do instead? And that's why I say we need to have 2 of the 3 of the first P. So either personalization, priorities, or personally relevant. So priorities, we need to be aligning our email and our solution with their priorities. Okay. If you're selling to the same ICP all the time, or the same sector, you must know what their priorities are. And their priorities will have changed from January to now, and they certainly would have changed from last financial year to now. The great thing about priorities is there's a lot of people doing work, a lot of consultants doing work to find out what the priorities are. So If you haven't done this, try Googling marketing director plus SaaS plus priorities plus post-COVID as an example. And you can insert your own titles and whatever relevant. Try that Google search. You'll be surprised what you can find. They won't always be accurate, but it'll get you on a good starting point. And I'm assuming you're going to do that if you don't have existing customers, because the best thing by far would be you go and interview your existing customers and say, what are your priorities right now? What's important to you? Give you my 3 priorities. And the reality is, if what you sell isn't going to be a priority for that ICP right now, maybe you should shift. So for example, I had a client this week where we had several verticals we wanted to try and approach, and healthcare was one of those verticals. The reality is there's a lot of things going on in healthcare, and we could not, in good conscience, align that client's product with healthcare's priorities right now because they're so focused on being COVID safe, etc. So we've taken that ICP and got to park it and come back to it in 6 months' time, simply because we'd be wasting everyone's time to try and engage with them on a topic that's not their priority. So that's a really key point. The third one, which I think is where the holy grail is, but a lot of people find this hard to get right, is can you prove you really know them? Okay, and how can it be personally relevant? So think about fleet managers right now. So we might say, hey Mark, if I'm a fleet manager, hey Mark, fleet managers right now are trying to rejuggle their assets due to the new normal. So that would be a role and title. Personalization, and you could say, okay, we know that their priority is trying to rejuggle those assets. So, okay, great, that's 2. But how could it be personally relevant? So it could be having a deeper understanding of your perfect client. You say something like, hey, Mark, we know that fleet managers right now have a whole bunch of extra capacity on their hands because their workers are spending less time on the road. So the work vehicles are underutilized. We've got some lesser known ideas around how you might be able to put some of that underutilized assets to work, or how you could divest those underutilized assets. So it's taking that point a little bit deeper and showing, look, I really understand what it is that you're working on and the pain points. If you can get these right, this is where you're really going to crack open. And between you and your team, there's a high chance that you and your installation team or your implementation team, your marketing team, or your CEO have got this information inside your business. You just need to dig a bit deeper. And then that's going to allow you to create a powerful, short email that's going to be really cut through. Okay. 4th P, for those of you who've been following for any length of time will know that I love ethical persuasion and using these in my outbound to increase the chances of us getting a yes and deliberately decrease the chances of us getting a no. So this should be no surprise that this P was in here. And yes, I've cheated a little bit with the E and the P. The last one, persistence. No one answers a first cold email. What's your backup plan? You've sent one. Do you have it? Do you have a second one ready to go? Do you have a third one? How are you going to follow it up with a phone call? Are you going to follow it up on social? Are you going to send them a letter via direct mail? Are you going to send them a little video talking about exactly the same point? Because if you don't have a plan, you're going to be stuck at that 14 or 20 or 25% open rate and the 4% response rates. That's a lot of emails for not a lot of activity. So you need to have a plan. So let me show you some templates now, and I'll walk you through how this plays out. So this is a fairly standard one that works really well. And you can say the public signal is the opportunity for personalization. So it could be, I saw one of your vans on the road. It could be, I saw you post on LinkedIn. It could be, I read your book. Okay. And, you know, this is the point where we talk about the priorities, and on we go. Okay. This is why I'm saying you might want to come back to this, because some of these templates will be handy. I've noticed your personalization and priorities. Okay. And this is where you say, you prove that you can make it personally relevant. Okay. We've got some strong insights available. Off we go. This is what it looks like if we map that out. And I've used this from, this is pretty much the script that I send to people. So one of the triggers for me is if people change roles or they get promoted. Hey, Gary, I noticed you've recently been promoted to head of sales of Acme. Congratulations. A little bit of persuasion there. Congratulations is a compliment. It's liking. I noticed you've recently been promoted. public signal, personalization. One of the things new leaders typically focus on early in their new role is building out a strong team pipeline. What's their priority? Building strong team pipeline. How can I prove that I know them? One of the new things new leaders focus on. See how simple this can be if you get it right? Okay, I have some lesser known scarcity strategies around pipeline building, which is their pain point in the whatever industry. Gary, is this something you're interested in? So this is a really powerful short email that I can send via, I could even send this via LinkedIn. I can send this via, or I could send this via text. I could create a video, but the concept is the same, and it's got the personalization. It's aimed at what I believe is their priorities. It's personally relevant. I know what it is that you're working on. It's got a bit of persuasion, and then it gives me an opportunity to follow up. So this is where we should be looking. And the great thing is, this is really easy to template. This is really easy to bang out a bunch of these, but most importantly, this is really easy for you to stand behind as a professional in a sales space or in the marketing space and go, hey, we're trying to start a conversation. I'm not smashing you with a whole bunch of spammy outreach. I know these are things you're likely to be working on, and I'm adding value into the conversation. So this is, I think, a really nice way to position that. The question for you is, what are your priorities for your clients? How can you personalize it? How can you prove that you're personally relevant? This is one that I received from Nia from Refract last week, and I've actually got a meeting with Nia because I think this is a great email. And I wanted to share this because this is probably the best one that I've received in 2 weeks, and it was an easy way for me to do a quick takedown. So thanks for sharing your video. So she's gone to my YouTube and looked at a video that I talked about stalled deals. So that's the personalization point, right? As a salesperson, I'm always looking for new inspiration. So that's an attempt at personalization. At persuasion as a compliment. That's okay. All of this piece here, I think, is superfluous. So she doesn't need that. So if you could take that out, then just say, keen to hear how you're currently conducting your sales training. And so this is trying to tie her product, Refract, to my role, which is sales training. And it'd be great to share a few ideas about how other sales trainers across Australia, North America, Europe, so social proof, Persuasion, are using technology, her product, to demonstrate their proof of impact and conduct and reinforce their training remotely. So reinforce and conduct and reinforce training remotely, that's something I'm interested in. So priorities. So not exactly the same structure, but a pretty good layout. So that's got my interest and it's got me to respond. So that's an example that I wanted to show. Again, I noticed this is where the personalization comes in. Priorities and personally relevant gets dropped into this second line if you can. And the key here is to make it short, okay? Make it powerful. 150 words or less is the challenge. Here's another option that works really well for me. And this is a mix up, what do they call it? Mash up. Of a couple of emails, one of which I think came from Josh Braun. So Josh is a pretty cool outbound guy out of Florida. You might know him. So, it could be, hey, we talk to marketing directors in the technology space every week. Many tell us their current focus is insert. So you can have 3 guesses here. Like, you'd want to know what they are, right? And then you say, is this consistent with what you're seeing at Salesforce? Or, got a bit over enthusiastic. Is this consistent with what you're seeing at Salesforce, or do you have as many leads as what your sales team can handle? So this is, the scenario that's, painting the perfect picture, because most of us are going to say, oh, I'm not quite there. So that reinforces these pain points, which reinforces the opportunity for you to have a conversation. There's a bunch of experience we can share based on our previous experience on how we've been able to drive more leads to the sales team. Margaret, I'll give you a call in the next couple of days. And I like taking control. So instead of asking them to say, call me back, so you know what, I'm going to reach out, or I'm going to send you another email. I'm going to send you a video. because we know that people are going to look at it. And even if we've got these priorities absolutely bang on, it's unlikely that they're going to turn around and say, yep, I'm going to respond. So the challenge for us is we need to flip our mindset. So a lot of us are writing really long emails, long, strong emails, and I want you to think about creating that pattern interrupting the current way that people receive your email and flip it around. Okay, a lot of you will be thinking about, I'm not comfortable standing out and being this brash and saying, I know these are your challenges. But, this desire to be safe is really killing your ability to break through. And I just keep going back to those stats where you've got 20% open rates and 10% or 14% response rates. It's very low, and we need to lift that up, particularly when email is so powerful and it's one of the only channels that remains unblocked. Last piece, subject lines. Okay, I've got 3 strategies that I like. You just grab 3 words from your email and stick them in there. And, it could be pipeline, promotion, and then the name of their company for that example I used for the sales leader. Or you could just start the email in the subject line. So you go, hey, Mark, spoke to Gary Smith the other day and ... Start the body of the line. And what he said was, you guys were working on this, or that you guys were likely to be working on this. Works really well. And it just creates a little bit of intrigue and makes it super personal. Of course, once you get past that second line, the body of the email could be pretty much the same, saying, we know that you're working on these 3 priorities. If you're really confident that you've got the pain points down right, let's say you're selling to facilities managers and they're focused on getting their workforce back to the office, you could just go getting your workforce back into the office, but you want to be pretty confident that that's going to be right. Okay, so team, that's the 5 Ps. There's a lot there for you to think about. There's a bit of a challenge for you to cut down that language as short as possible. Bang your questions into the chat and I'll answer them as much as we can. Because this is a webinar, you don't have the ability to ask me verbally. So that's great. And what I'm going to do is give you a code to go and grab Tactical Pipeline Growth if you want from my website. So if you want the electronic download and the templates, you can do that. Use the code email. I haven't set that up yet, so give me half a day to do that. And you can get 50% off the Tactical Pipeline Growth download. So without any more, if any of you have got questions, feel free to fire them in and I'll answer them as best I can. But appreciate your time before 9 o'clock in Sydney town. And for those of you located elsewhere, happy Thursday afternoon.